On December 11th, 2025, the nuclear-powered supercarrier USS Abraham Lincoln entered Guam's Apra Harbor. Within days, the carrier launched live-fire operations in the South China Sea, flying F-18 Super Hornets and F-35-C stealth fighters under constant Chinese surveillance. The deployment coincided with Beijing's largest-ever drills around Taiwan, creating the most dangerous standoff since 1996. How did the United States achieve such overwhelming naval superiority in China's backyard? What capabilities does the Abraham Lincoln bring that have Chinese planners genuinely worried? Join us as we explore how the USS Abraham Lincoln's deployment to China's coast has created a strategic crisis, prompting Beijing to panic about the future of naval warfare in the Indo-Pacific. For decades, the United States Navy has maintained an aircraft carrier presence in the region as the cornerstone of American power projection, deterrence, and reassurance to allies. These carriers serve multiple functions simultaneously. They deter Chinese aggression against Taiwan and other regional partners. They reassure Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and Australia that American security commitments remain credible. They maintain freedom of navigation in international waters that China claims as its own, and they provide rapid response capability for crises ranging from humanitarian disasters to potential military conflicts. No other platform combines the flexibility, sustainability, and sheer combat power of nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. The Abraham Lincoln represents the cutting edge of this carrier force. Commissioned in November 1989, the 5th Nimitz-class carrier has undergone continuous modernization throughout its service life, receiving the most advanced combat systems, sensors, and aircraft that American technology can provide. The ship measures 1,092 feet in length and displaces over 100,000 tons when fully loaded with fuel, ordnance, and supplies. 2 Westinghouse A4W nuclear reactors generate 280 megawatts of power, providing virtually unlimited range limited only by crew endurance and consumables like food and aviation fuel. These reactors will power the ship for over 25 years without refueling, eliminating the vulnerability and logistics burden of conventional fuel oil, while providing electrical capacity far exceeding any diesel or gas turbine-powered vessel. The carrier's air wing, Carrier Air Wing 9, brings devastating combat capability. The wing currently operates a mix of approximately 60 aircraft, including F/A-18E and F Super Hornets, providing strike and air superiority capabilities. F-35-C, Lightning II stealth fighters adding 5th generation and penetrating strike and intelligence gathering, EA-18G Growlers conducting electronic attack and jamming, E-2D Advanced Hawkeye aircraft providing airborne early warning and battle management, MH-60R and MH-60S Seahawk helicopters for anti-submarine warfare and logistics, and C-2 Greyhound cargo aircraft for carrier onboard delivery. This combination creates an integrated air combat system with capabilities exceeding most national air forces. The strike group surrounding the Lincoln multiplies its effectiveness exponentially. The Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers USS Frank E. Peterson Jr., USS Michael Murphy, and USS Spruance provide layered air defense using the Aegis Combat System, anti-submarine warfare capability, and Tomahawk cruise missiles for long-range strike. These destroyers each carry 96 vertical launch cells, loaded with combinations of SM-2, SM-3, and SM-6 air defense missiles, RUM-139 anti-submarine rockets, and Tomahawk land attack missiles. The collective firepower of the strike group can engage hundreds of targets simultaneously across air, surface, and subsurface domains while defending against saturation attacks that would overwhelm individual ships. The Lincoln deployed from San Diego on November 24, 2025, transiting the Pacific Ocean during a period of escalating tensions between the United States and China. President Donald Trump had recently won re-election and immediately began pressuring Beijing on trade, technology transfer, and military activities in the South China Sea. Chinese President Xi Jinping responded with nationalist rhetoric about reunifying Taiwan and defending Chinese territorial claims, regardless of international opinion. This war of words created an atmosphere where miscalculation or accident could spiral into actual conflict, making the carrier deployment both more important and more dangerous than routine peacetime operations. The arrival in Guam placed the Lincoln at the geographic center of American military power in the Western Pacific. Guam has evolved into what senior defense officials now call the unsinkable aircraft carrier of the Pacific, hosting Air Force bombers, Navy submarines, Marine Expeditionary Forces, and logistics infrastructure supporting operations across thousands of miles of ocean. The island sits approximately 1,500 miles southeast of Taiwan, 1,800 miles east of the Philippines, and 2,000 miles south of Japan, providing a central position from which American forces can respond to crises in any direction. The naval base at Apra Harbour can accommodate multiple aircraft carriers simultaneously, and Andersen Air Force Base hosts strategic bombers, including B-52s, B-1s, and soon B-21 Raiders. The Lincoln's presence in Guam overlapped with USS George Washington, creating a rare dual-carrier posture in the Western Pacific. George Washington, forward deployed to Yokosuka, Japan, as the replacement for USS Ronald Reagan, had arrived in Guam on December 1st for maintenance and crew rest. Having two carriers in close proximity enabled coordinated operations, impossible with single carriers separated by thousands of miles. The Navy could surge both carriers simultaneously into contested areas, overwhelming any opposition with combined air wings of over 120 aircraft. Alternatively, the carriers could operate in different areas, ensuring continuous presence even as individual ships rotated through maintenance cycles or returned to port. This flexibility proved strategically valuable as tensions escalated. On December 26, just 2 weeks after arriving in Guam, the Abraham Lincoln transited into the South China Sea, one of the most contested bodies of water on Earth. The South China Sea occupies a unique position in global geopolitics as one of the world's most heavily trafficked maritime corridors, carrying over $3 trillion in trade annually and serving as a lifeline for energy shipments bound for East and Southeast Asia. China claims sovereignty over virtually the entire sea basin through its 9-dash line, a boundary with no basis in international law, but enforced through military presence and coercion. The Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan all contest these claims, asserting their own rights under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. American freedom of navigation operations directly challenged Chinese claims by sailing warships through waters Beijing considers its territorial sea, but which the United States and most of the international community recognize as international waters. The Lincoln's presence wasn't a brief transit, but sustained operations including flight operations, live-fire training, and coordinated exercises with allies. On January 8, 2026, the carrier conducted live-fire training with its phalanx close-in weapon system, the radar-guided 20mm cannon that serves as a last-ditch defense against incoming missiles and aircraft. These drills, photographed and publicized by the Navy, sent an unmistakable message. American forces were training for combat in Chinese-claimed waters and were prepared to fight if necessary. The timing proved particularly sensitive because China had launched its own massive military exercises just days earlier. On December 29th and 30th, the People's Liberation Army conducted Joint Sword 2025-D, also called Justice Mission 2025, encircling Taiwan with warships, aircraft, and missile units in what Beijing described as a punitive and deterrent action against Taiwan and countries that support its independence. Chinese bombers flew through the Taiwan Strait, warships surrounded the island, and missile batteries took up firing positions along the coast. The exercises simulated a blockade intended to demonstrate China's ability to isolate Taiwan economically and militarily, preventing resupply or reinforcement from the United States or other nations. The Lincoln's operations in the South China Sea during this crisis constituted a direct response, demonstrating that American forces could and would operate freely regardless of Chinese exercises or threats. If China attempted to blockade Taiwan, American carriers could break the blockade by providing air superiority, striking Chinese naval and air assets, and escorting supply convoys through contested waters. The presence of F-35C stealth fighters gave the Lincoln capabilities that Chinese forces would struggle to counter, as the fifth-generation jets could penetrate Chinese air defenses, gather intelligence on military dispositions, and strike critical targets while remaining difficult to detect and track. Chinese responses to the American carrier presence revealed deep anxiety about the strategic situation. State-controlled media published articles warning about American provocations and urging the People's Liberation Army to prepare for conflict. Military commentators discussed China's carrier killer missiles, specifically the DF-21D and DF-26 anti-ship ballistic missiles, as the weapons that would keep American carriers at bay during any conflict. These missiles, with ranges exceeding 1,000 miles, theoretically can strike moving ships at sea by using satellite tracking and over-the-horizon radar to locate targets and guide warheads during the terminal phase of flight. Chinese propaganda presents these weapons as silver bullets that render American carriers obsolete and vulnerable. However, the reality is far more complex than Chinese rhetoric suggests. Anti-ship ballistic missiles face enormous technical challenges in actually hitting moving targets at sea. The missiles must detect carriers amid vast expanses of ocean, distinguish real targets from decoys, maintain accurate track during the 10 to 15 minutes of flight time while targets maneuver at 30+ knots, survive electronic warfare and countermeasures attempting to jam or spoof their sensors, and penetrate defensive missile systems designed specifically to intercept ballistic threats. The United States has invested billions in ship-based ballistic missile defense using SM-3 and SM-6 interceptors, proven capable of shooting down ballistic missiles in testing. The carriers also operate with strict emissions control, making detection by satellite or radar difficult, and use deceptive tactics including feints, false position reports, and coordinated movements designed to confuse tracking. More fundamentally, attempting to attack an American aircraft carrier would constitute an act of war carrying incalculable risks for China. Even if missiles successfully struck a carrier, the American response would be devastating. The United States maintains overwhelming conventional and nuclear superiority with the ability to destroy China's entire military infrastructure, cripple its economy through blockade, and threaten the survival of the Chinese Communist Party itself. No rational Chinese leadership would risk national destruction to sink a carrier unless American forces were actively invading the mainland or preparing a nuclear attack. The carrier killer missiles serve more as psychological deterrents and bargaining chips than as weapons China would realistically employ. The deployment also highlighted the growing capability gap between American and Chinese carrier forces. While China has made impressive progress building its carrier fleet, with 3 ships now commissioned and potentially 6 more planned by 2035, these vessels lag far behind American capabilities in critical areas. The Liaoning and Shandong both use ski jump launches that limit aircraft payload and fuel loads, reducing their combat effectiveness. The new Fujian features electromagnetic catapults similar to American carriers, enabling launch of heavier aircraft, but the ship only recently entered service and remains largely untested. More importantly, satellite imagery from January 2026 showed all 3 Chinese carriers pierside undergoing maintenance or training, unable to respond to the American surge. This availability gap shows fundamental differences in naval culture and operational tempo. The United States Navy has operated carriers continuously for 80 years, developing institutional knowledge about how to maintain high readiness rates, sustain deployed operations for months, and rotate crews and ships to prevent burnout. American carriers typically spend 18 to 24 months deployed or preparing for deployment for every 12 months of maintenance, generating enormous numbers of at-sea days and operational hours. Chinese carriers, by contrast, spend far more time in port conducting training and maintenance, with relatively brief deployments close to home waters. Building the infrastructure, supply chains, crew training systems, and operational experience necessary to match American carrier operations will take China decades, if it can be achieved at all. The combat experience gap proves even more decisive. American carrier aviators are among the most experienced military pilots on Earth, many having flown combat missions over Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, or Libya. They have dropped real weapons on real targets, faced actual air defenses, and executed missions under conditions where mistakes mean death. Chinese naval aviators have never faced combat, never launched strikes against defended targets, never had to find and destroy mobile threats in contested environments. This experiential gulf cannot be overcome through training exercises, no matter how realistic or frequent. Real combat presents challenges and stresses that peacetime training cannot replicate, and American forces have been forged in the crucible of actual warfare. The USS Seawolf's deployment alongside the Abraham Lincoln added another dimension to American military pressure. This nuclear-powered fast-attack submarine, the lead ship of the Seawolf class, and among the most capable underwater platforms ever built, operates in the Western Pacific, conducting intelligence gathering, surveillance of Chinese naval activities, and positioning for potential combat operations. The Seawolf can track Chinese submarines, surveil naval bases and ship movements, gather signals intelligence on Chinese communications and radars, and position itself to strike high-value targets if ordered. The submarine's presence forces Chinese planners to assume that American attack submarines are operating in areas critical to Chinese security, creating paranoia and uncertainty that complicate Chinese decision-making. Chinese anti-submarine warfare capabilities remain arguably the weakest element of the People's Liberation Army Navy. Detecting and tracking quiet nuclear submarines in deep ocean environments requires extensive sensor networks, highly trained crews, and years of operational experience. China has invested in anti-submarine helicopters, towed array sonar systems, and submarine hunting corvettes. But these capabilities are immature compared to American systems, refined over decades of Cold War operations against the Soviet Navy. The presence of platforms like the Seawolf in the Western Pacific means Chinese submarines, surface ships, and even aircraft carriers all face potential attack from unseen adversaries that could strike without warning and vanish before counterattacks can be organized. In addition to the Abraham Lincoln and George Washington carriers, the amphibious assault ship USS Tripoli operated in the South China Sea carrying F-35B, Lightning IIs, and Marine Expeditionary Forces. The USS Carl Vinson had recently completed deployment to the region after participating in Exercise Pacific Stellar 2025, a triple carrier wargame with French and Japanese counterparts. The USS Nimitz concluded a 9-month deployment spanning the Pacific, Middle East, and Indian Ocean. At any given time, multiple American carriers, amphibious ships, guided missile destroyers, cruisers, and attack submarines operated in the Indo-Pacific, creating a persistent presence that China simply cannot counter with its current force structure. The diplomatic dimension reinforced military pressure. During the Abraham Lincoln's deployment, American officials conducted extensive consultations with regional allies and partners. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth visited Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines, reaffirming security commitments and discussing enhanced military cooperation. These discussions focused on integrated air and missile defense, intelligence sharing, coordinated response to Chinese coercion, and basing arrangements that would allow American forces to operate from Allied facilities during crises. Japan agreed to host additional American forces. The Philippines granted access to additional military bases under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, and South Korea committed to coordinated responses to regional contingencies. The economic pressure complemented military and diplomatic efforts. The Trump administration threatened tariffs on Chinese goods, restrictions on technology transfer, and sanctions targeting Chinese companies supporting military modernization. European allies, while less confrontational than the United States, also expressed concerns about Chinese trade practices, human rights violations, and military activities. China faced the prospect of economic isolation from developed markets precisely when its economy was struggling with demographic decline, a property market crisis, and mounting debt. Beijing cannot afford extended confrontation that would accelerate capital flight and economic stagnation. Yet nationalist rhetoric about Taiwan reunification and defending territorial claims makes backing down politically costly. This combination of military, diplomatic, and economic pressure created a strategic dilemma for Chinese leadership. Escalating confrontation risked military conflict China would likely lose, economic sanctions it could not afford, and potential collapse of the Chinese Communist Party's legitimacy if its confrontational policies produced disaster. However, backing down after extensive nationalist propaganda about defending Chinese sovereignty would undermine the party's credibility and potentially trigger domestic political instability. Xi Jinping and other leaders found themselves trapped by their own rhetoric, unable to advance or retreat without serious consequences. The operational lessons from the deployment will inform American naval strategy for years to come. The Navy demonstrated that carrier strike groups can operate sustainably in contested waters despite Chinese capabilities designed to deny access. The integration of F-35C stealth fighters proved decisive, providing capabilities that Chinese forces could not effectively counter. The dual carrier posture showed that the United States can surge forces rapidly when required, overwhelming potential adversaries with concentrated power. The coordination with allies and partners validated concepts of distributed operations and mutual support that form the foundation of American strategy in the Indo-Pacific. Looking toward the future, the deployment foreshadows how potential conflict in the region might unfold. American carriers would provide the strike capability necessary to degrade Chinese air defenses, destroy missile launchers, and establish air superiority. Attack submarines would hunt Chinese submarines and surface ships, creating a blockade that would strangle Chinese trade. Allied forces from Japan, Australia, and potentially others would provide bases, logistics support, and additional combat power. Chinese forces would attempt to use missiles, submarines, and aircraft to destroy American carriers and bases, but would face the combined might of the world's most powerful military alliance. The Abraham Lincoln's return to routine operations after the crisis demonstrates another crucial American advantage: sustainability. Unlike Chinese carriers that conduct brief deployments close to home before returning to port for extended maintenance, American carriers regularly operate for months at a time across vast distances. The Lincoln remained on station in the South China Sea through January 2026, conducting continuous flight operations, maintaining combat readiness, and demonstrating staying power that Chinese forces cannot match. This operational tempo forces Chinese planners to assume American carriers will be present during any crisis, rather than hoping to catch periods when carriers are absent or in maintenance. The United States Navy is building a revolutionary aircraft carrier that could redefine naval power across the world's oceans. After the costly growing pains of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the Navy claims it has finally cracked the code. With refined electromagnetic aircraft launch systems, fully functional weapons elevators, and a Virginia payload module, inspired unmanned warfare center designed for large-scale drone operations, this new carrier promises sustained sortie rates and strike power that even near-peer adversaries may struggle to counter. How did the Navy turn Ford's failures into lessons learned? And what truly sets Enterprise apart from its troubled predecessor? Join us as we examine America's USS Enterprise CVN-80 that is making every Navy nervous. For decades, aircraft carriers have been America's ultimate show of force on the high seas. The Nimitz-class carriers did this job brilliantly for 3 decades, delivering 10 of these massive ships that kept America's enemies at bay. Then came the Ford-class, meant to be the next evolution, the carrier of the future optimized for modern warfare. By 2025, the Navy had 11 carriers total, with 3 Ford-class ships either sailing, being built, or paid for. This fleet represents the most advanced carrier force on the planet. They do more than just look intimidating. They deter China from getting too aggressive in the Pacific. They keep American influence alive in every ocean. They show allies that America's technology is light years ahead. And most importantly, they give Washington the ability to hit back hard against anyone foolish enough to pick a fight. But here's where things got complicated. The first Ford-class carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, turned into an expensive nightmare that had Navy admirals pulling their hair out. Ford tried to revolutionize everything at once, cramming 23 brand new technologies into one ship. It was like upgrading every system in your house simultaneously and expecting nothing to go wrong. However, everything went wrong. The Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, or EMALS for short, was supposed to replace the old steam catapults that had been flinging jets off carriers since World War II. Cool idea, except it kept breaking down. It was designed to work 4,000 times between failures. Instead, it broke after just 600 launches, forcing flight operations to stop dead in their tracks during testing. Then there was the Advanced Arresting Gear, the system that catches planes when they land. It was supposed to last 16,500 cycles between breakdowns. Reality? 450 cycles. Pilots weren't exactly thrilled about landing on a carrier with sketchy arrest gear, but that wasn't even the last of the challenges they experienced with the Ford. Then came the issues with the weapons elevators. These electromagnetic lifts were supposed to haul bombs and missiles from deep storage up to the flight deck where jets get loaded up. The contract said all 11 elevators had to work before the Navy accepted delivery of the ship. When the Ford was commissioned, only 7 worked. The others took years of expensive fixes to get operational. Congress was furious. Costs ballooned $13 billion over budget, and everyone started asking the obvious question: was all this fancy new technology actually worth it? The Navy learned the hard way that they couldn't revolutionize everything at once. So when it came time to build Enterprise, they took a completely different approach. Instead of rushing to install experimental systems, they built dedicated test facilities on land. Engineers launched and recovered aircraft thousands of times, deliberately breaking components to figure out what failed and why. They redesigned weak points, upgraded problem parts, and tested everything again and again before installing anything on Enterprise. The construction schedule got longer, but Navy leaders decided that delays were better than delivering another broken ship. This time, political pressure to hit deadlines took a back seat to actually building something that worked. The lessons from Ford's disaster were expensive, but the Navy finally learned them. Enterprise got serious upgrades based on Ford's failures. The electromagnetic systems receive upgraded power components that could handle the electrical loads without frying themselves. Engineers replaced parts prone to burning out with more robust alternatives that had been tested through thousands of cycles. The weapons elevators got simplified designs, cutting out unnecessary complexity that caused Ford's elevators to jam and fail. Instead of experimental motor configurations, they used proven designs that actually worked. The installation timeline changed too. Rather than turning on all systems simultaneously and hoping for the best, Enterprise would activate systems one at a time. This methodical approach meant engineers could troubleshoot each system individually before adding more variables. It's like checking each ingredient while baking, instead of throwing everything together and wondering why your cake exploded. Enterprise's construction timeline shows just how seriously the Navy took these improvements. Steel cutting began in August 2017 at Newport News Shipbuilding in Virginia, the only place in America that can build nuclear-powered carriers. The keel got laid in April 2022, when the ship was about 13% complete. This formal ceremony marked the Navy's official commitment to construction milestones and delivery schedules. By November 2024, something remarkable happened. Shipbuilders floated Enterprise's mid-body section for the first time, moving it within the massive dry dock to make room for the next carrier, USS Doris Miller. This required flooding the dry dock with over 100 million gallons of water, carefully floating the partially built Enterprise, then repositioning it so work could continue on both carriers simultaneously. It marked the first time 2 Ford-class carriers were under construction in the same dry dock. The logistics alone were mind-boggling. Construction milestones kept coming. In March 2025, shipbuilders lifted the 940-ton aft section into place, a massive piece of the puzzle that required precision welding and exact dimensional alignment. But delivery dates kept slipping. First, the Navy targeted March 2028. Then material shortages pushed it to September 2029. Then suppliers couldn't deliver critical components on time, and the date slid to July 2030. Now let's get into the specs. This formidable beast will displace approximately 100,000 tons when fully loaded. That's the weight of about 50,000 cars floating on water. The ship stretches 333 meters long with a flight deck 78 meters wide. Basically, it's longer than 3 football fields and wider than most city streets. 2 A-1B nuclear reactors sit deep in the hull, providing essentially unlimited range. These reactors generate enough electrical power to run all the ship's systems, plus have massive reserves left over for future energy weapons and electromagnetic systems that the Navy hasn't even invented yet. The reactors will run for 20 to 25 years before needing refueling, and that only happens once during the ship's 50-year service life. This nuclear endurance creates strategic advantages that diesel-powered carriers simply cannot match. Enterprise can stay on station indefinitely without needing vulnerable tanker ships to bring fuel. Conventional carriers need regular refueling, which means support vessels that enemies can target. Enterprise, it just keeps going. The electromagnetic launch systems represent the most visible upgrade from old-school carriers. 4 EMALS catapults will smoothly accelerate aircraft from a dead stop to flying speed in about 3 seconds. Unlike steam catapults that jerk aircraft forward with brutal force, EMALS uses linear induction motors providing precise acceleration control. This means less stress on airframes, which means jets last longer. The system can launch everything from lightweight drones to fully loaded strike fighters carrying tons of weapons and fuel. Steam catapults struggled with this weight range, either being too gentle for heavy aircraft or too violent for light ones. EMALS adjusts the acceleration profile for each launch, like having a dimmer switch instead of just on-off. Early Ford operations proved EMALS could work, but reliability improvements for Enterprise address all those power failures and component burnouts that plagued Ford. The Navy wasn't taking chances this time. The advanced arresting gear catches landing aircraft using electromagnetic controls instead of hydraulic systems. This reduces the violent deceleration that slams pilots into their seats and strains airframes. Gentler recoveries mean longer aircraft service life and fewer structural repairs. For pilots who land on carriers for a living, anything that makes the experience less bone-rattling is a win. Now let's talk about those infamous weapons elevators. Enterprise will have 11 of these electromagnetic lifts designed to move bombs and missiles from storage magazines deep in the ship up to the flight deck where aircraft get armed. These elevators use linear electromagnetic motors instead of cables and pulleys, theoretically allowing faster munition transport with less maintenance. Theoretically. Ford's elevator development consumed years and millions of dollars because the complex electromagnetic controls were nightmares to integrate. Enterprise benefits from simplified designs and proven motor configurations, plus software fixes addressing everything that went wrong on Ford. The Navy spent $50 million just on Enterprise elevator improvements. That's how determined they were to avoid another elevator disaster. The Air Wing Enterprise represents cutting-edge American naval aviation. Expect approximately 75 to 90 aircraft depending on the mission, F/A-18E/F. Super Hornets provide the backbone, capable of attacking air and ground targets with equal effectiveness. F-35C, Lightning II, stealth fighters penetrate enemy defenses that would shred conventional aircraft, gathering intelligence with advanced sensors while dropping precision weapons on high-value targets. EEA-18G Growlers jam enemy radar and communications, essentially blinding adversaries and preventing them from coordinating responses. E-2D Advanced Hawkeye aircraft provide airborne early warning, detecting threats hundreds of miles away and coordinating the entire Air Wing's operations. MQ-25 Stingray drones extend strike ranges by refueling other aircraft mid-flight, reducing dependence on vulnerable tanker planes. But here's what really sets Enterprise apart. An unmanned aviation warfare center specifically designed for large-scale drone operations. This $50 million facility reflects the Navy's recognition that future carrier warfare will increasingly rely on unmanned platforms. Drones will conduct surveillance missions too dangerous for pilots. They'll strike defended targets where losing a human crew would be unacceptable. They'll perform electronic warfare and refueling missions while preserving expensive manned aircraft for missions requiring human judgment. The center provides dedicated spaces for drone maintenance, mission planning, and data analysis that current carriers completely lack. This represents a fundamental shift in thinking about carrier air wings. The future isn't purely manned aviation anymore. It's a mixed fleet where unmanned platforms handle the dirty, dangerous work, while human pilots focus on complex missions requiring split-second tactical decisions. The sensor and combat systems give Enterprise situational awareness capabilities beyond anything previous carriers possessed. The dual-band radar combines S-band and X-band arrays into one integrated system providing 360-degree coverage against air and surface threats. S-band radar detects targets at extreme ranges. X-band radar provides precise tracking and fire control solutions for engaging those threats. This integration enables simultaneous tracking of multiple targets, instant threat assessment, and coordinated engagement planning that previous radar systems couldn't achieve. The ship's self-defense system ties together all defensive weapons, including evolved Sea Sparrow missiles and rolling airframe missiles, creating layered defense against anti-ship missiles, aircraft, and surface threats trying to get close enough to hurt the carrier. Enterprise's construction carries implications far beyond American naval power. In November 2025, China commissioned the Fujian, their third aircraft carrier and the first non-American carrier featuring electromagnetic catapults. Displacing about 80,000 tons with 3 electromagnetic catapults and conventional diesel engines, Fujian represents China's most advanced carrier yet. It signals Beijing's determination to challenge American naval dominance in the Western Pacific. Sure, Fujian is smaller than Enterprise. It carries fewer aircraft. It lacks nuclear endurance and must refuel regularly. But those electromagnetic catapults demonstrate that China achieved technological parity in critical carrier systems. They figured out how to build what America builds. That's concerning. Delays in Enterprise's delivery will give China time to refine Fujian's systems and potentially build improved follow-on carriers incorporating lessons learned. Every month Enterprise sits incomplete is another month China uses to catch up. The competitive pressure is real. Russia adds complexity despite having limited resources for carrier construction. They operate one aging carrier, Admiral Kuznetsov, which breaks down constantly and spends more time in dock than at sea. Russian naval planners have proposed nuclear-powered carrier designs displacing up to 90,000 tons, representing substantial improvements. Budget constraints and shipyard limitations make Russian carrier construction unlikely soon, but the design concepts show Russia recognizes carriers remain relevant power projection tools. European allies watch Enterprise development closely while considering their own carrier needs. France operates the nuclear-powered Charles de Gaulle, displacing 42,000 tons, significantly smaller than American supercarriers, but still capable. The French Navy plans a replacement carrier incorporating electromagnetic catapults based on American technology, with construction potentially starting in the early 20s. The United Kingdom operates 2 Queen Elizabeth-class carriers, displacing 65,000 tons each. These use conventional propulsion and ski-jump launch systems rather than catapults. While they demonstrate Allied commitment to carrier aviation, their smaller size and conventional power plants limit operational flexibility compared to American nuclear supercarriers. They're good ships, just not in the same league as Enterprise. Newport News Shipbuilding faces enormous challenges building Enterprise. It's the only American facility that can construct nuclear carriers, creating strategic vulnerability. If something catastrophic happened here, America's carrier construction capability would vanish overnight. The facility employed about 25,000 workers in 2025, but faced persistent workforce shortages. Training new shipbuilders takes 3 to 5 years for specialized skills like nuclear welding and reactor installation. It's quite impossible to just hire workers off the street for nuclear components. The training pipeline is long, meaning workforce expansion can't quickly fix production bottlenecks. Supply chain constraints made everything worse. Enterprise requires components from over 4,000 suppliers. Many produce specialized items exclusively for carriers. When suppliers hit delays, entire construction phases stop. This means attempts to accelerate construction often failed because critical components didn't exist and couldn't be manufactured faster regardless of funding. Cost control became a persistent headache. Enterprise received approximately $13 billion in funding through fiscal year 2026, with costs escalating as delivery dates slipped. The 2-ship contract covering Enterprise and Doris Miller totaled about $18.5 billion in 2025, indicating per-ship costs approaching $9 billion. These costs substantially exceeded Nimitz-class carriers costing $4 to $5 billion each in equivalent dollars. Congressional oversight intensified, with legislators questioning whether electromagnetic systems justified the premium compared to proven Nimitz designs. Navy leadership defended costs by emphasizing life cycle savings. Electromagnetic catapults require less maintenance than steam systems, reducing crew sizes. Advanced reactors provide greater power with fewer operators. Weapons elevators enable faster rearming, supporting higher sortie rates. These arguments convinced some supporters but faced skepticism from critics noting Ford systems hadn't demonstrated promised reliability yet. Looking forward, Enterprise's completion will provide critical validation of Ford-class technologies. If Enterprise proves electromagnetic systems work reliably, if weapons elevators function properly, if the ship sustains high sortie rates during deployment, then the Ford-class program gets vindicated. But if Enterprise repeats Ford's struggles with system failures and extended maintenance, fundamental questions about the Ford-class concept will intensify. The stakes extend beyond Enterprise to encompass the entire planned program of 10 carriers representing several $100 billion and the foundation of American naval power through the 21st century. The geopolitical environment adds urgency. Chinese naval expansion continues at unprecedented pace, with analysts projecting 6 carriers by the mid-2030s, supported by modern destroyers and submarines. Russian naval modernization includes advanced submarines and anti-ship missiles threatening carriers near Russian territory. Iranian forces employ swarming tactics with small boats and mines that could threaten carriers in confined waters like the Strait of Hormuz. These threats create environments where American carriers must maintain technological advantages to offset numerical disadvantages. The name Enterprise carries tremendous weight. 8 previous ships bore this name. The legendary CV-6 distinguished itself throughout World War II, participating in virtually every major Pacific campaign and surviving despite horrific battle damage. The nuclear-powered CVN-65 served 51 years as the world's first nuclear carrier, setting endurance records proving nuclear propulsion worked for large warships. Naming CVN-80, Enterprise ensures the legacy continues, placing symbolic pressure on the ship to uphold its predecessor's distinguished records, while establishing new performance standards for the Ford-class program and American naval aviation. The commissioning ceremony in the early 2030s will mark both celebration and assessment. Olympic gold medalists Katie Ledecky and Simone Biles will sponsor the ship, representing American excellence. Navy leadership will declare Enterprise operational, but the true test comes during workup periods and deployment cycles, where the ship must prove that lessons from Ford's troubles translated into reliable systems and sustained performance. Crew quality of life improvements affect retention and effectiveness. Individual berthing replaces hot racking, where sailors shared bunks on rotating schedules. Enhanced gyms, recreation spaces, and internet connectivity help retain skilled personnel in competitive labor markets. These improvements pay dividends in personnel retention, operational readiness, and sustained performance during demanding deployment schedules. Enterprise represents more than metal, electronics, and nuclear reactors. The carrier embodies American commitment to maintaining naval superiority through technological innovation and sustained investment despite challenges. The delays and difficulties don't diminish the importance of ensuring America operates the world's most capable carrier fleet as foundation of naval power. As construction continues at Newport News, with the systems undergoing testing and as delivery approaches, the world's navies watch nervously. Assuming the program's remaining challenges are overcome, Enterprise will emerge as a new standard for aircraft carrier capability. Rival navies will be forced to reckon with a platform most cannot hope to match for decades. That enduring technological edge and operational flexibility will continue to anchor American naval power well into the 21st century. America's secret ghost jet may soon appear on the USS Gerald Ford, shocking Pentagon officials and rivals. This tailless, triangle-shaped fighter boasts smart skin sensors, laser weapons, and hypersonic speeds of over 6,000 miles per hour. It can even command a swarm of robotic wingmen. Earlier stealth jets seem obsolete in comparison. Has the U.S. Navy just rewritten the rules of aerial warfare? And how will China and Russia react to this invisible predator of the skies? Join us as we unveil the 7th-generation fighter jet before it makes it on the United States aircraft carrier. The sky above the USS Gerald Ford lit up with a bright blue flash as something incredible took place. After nearly a century of struggle, the United States Navy had finally solved one of its biggest challenges: Carrier-based jets could now match or even surpass land-based fighters. For years, aircraft carriers had a major disadvantage. Their jets had to be smaller, lighter, and carry less fuel compared to those launching from land. As countries like China and Russia built powerful land-based fighters and long-range missiles, many experts doubted whether carriers could hold their ground in modern warfare. That changed with the Navy's next-generation air dominance fighter. Unlike the older FA-18 Super Hornets, this new jet brought futuristic technology that had once seemed impossible. It wasn't just a single aircraft, it was the leader of a small team. Each NGAD fighter was paired with autonomous drones, commonly called collaborative combat aircraft. These drones carried extra weapons, sensors, and fuel, following the lead fighter's commands while also making quick decisions on their own. A single pilot could now manage what used to take several people. The USS Gerald Ford's firepower grew even stronger with the addition of the Helios laser weapon system. This powerful 150-kilowatt laser could track and destroy incoming missiles and enemy drones almost instantly. Unlike traditional missiles that could run out, the laser remained operational as long as the ship had power. Most people had no idea how fast this technology was advancing. When an Air Force official revealed in 2020 that a test version of the NGAD fighter had already flown, defense experts were caught off guard. The Navy had been quietly working on this breakthrough for more than 7 years, replacing outdated systems from the 1990s with cutting-edge technology designed for the future. The USS Gerald Ford was designed with cutting-edge advancements in mind. As the Navy's most sophisticated aircraft carrier, it featured electromagnetic catapults that propelled aircraft more swiftly and effectively than traditional steam-powered systems. Its nuclear reactors generated the vast energy required for the Helios laser. The NGAD fighter also looked completely different from older jets. It had no vertical tail fins and featured a sleek triangular design, allowing it to fly in ways that would have made traditional aircraft lose control. Advanced computer systems made thousands of tiny adjustments every second to keep it steady and maneuverable. In training exercises, the results spoke for themselves. Against experienced pilots flying F-35s, the NGAD fighter and its robotic wingmen won nearly every simulated battle. The difference was overwhelming. For countries that had spent billions developing anti-ship missiles to keep United States carriers at a distance, this presented a serious problem. With these new jets, carriers could now operate much closer to enemy territory without fear. For the first time since World War II, carrier-based jets weren't just keeping up with land-based fighters, they were better. This wasn't just an upgrade. As the sun set behind the carrier, the new fighter launched into the night, its silhouette blending into the sky. The aircraft represented a development in naval warfare. What happens when these advanced fighters go beyond the clouds and into the vast darkness of space? Could the next generation of American warplanes be used as spacecraft? Engineers across America are already working on technologies beyond those used on the USS Gerald Ford. While naval aviation advances, the next leap is happening in secret labs. The goal isn't just faster planes, it's aircraft that can move between air and space. These next-generation hypersonic fighters could transform aerial combat. Traveling above Mach 5, more than 6,000 kilometers per hour, they could cross continents in minutes. A fighter this fast could fly from New York to Los Angeles in under 30 minutes, making it nearly impossible to track, let alone stop. Building such an aircraft comes with massive challenges. At extreme speeds, air friction generates heat strong enough to melt standard materials. To solve this, the Air Force and NASA are developing heat-resistant composites that can withstand over 2,000 degrees Celsius without breaking apart. Propulsion is another hurdle. Regular jet engines can't function well at extreme speeds or in the thin upper atmosphere. That's where scramjets come in. Unlike traditional engines, scramjets have no moving parts. They use the aircraft's speed to compress incoming air, generating thrust. Since 2018, the Air Force's Mayhem project has been testing scramjet prototypes, gradually improving their performance. Unlike earlier fighter jets, these advanced aircraft wouldn't just fly high, they could briefly leave Earth's atmosphere. By reaching altitudes above 100 kilometers, they could enter a suborbital path, skipping across the upper atmosphere like a stone across water. This would allow them to strike targets with almost no warning, conduct surveillance from altitudes beyond the reach of anti-aircraft weapons, and even deploy small satellites to restore communications in combat zones. The United States military has been quietly funding this research for years. DARPA has been working on airspace transition vehicles since 2020, focusing on designs that can move between the atmosphere and space without rockets or launch pads. But breaking into space creates new risks. Outside Earth's atmosphere, cosmic radiation can damage electronics and pose health risks to pilots. Engineers are developing shielding and radiation-resistant computer systems to keep these aircraft safe. Fuel is another challenge. Traditional jets can refuel mid-air, but space-capable aircraft need an energy source powerful enough to push them beyond most of Earth's gravity and still bring them back safely. Advanced hydrogen propulsion is one possible solution, providing high-energy output with only water as a byproduct. The race to develop this technology is already underway. China is rapidly increasing its hypersonic research budget, while Russia's PAKDP program is working on similar aircraft. Any country that masters space-capable fighters will gain a major military advantage. This also raises legal questions. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty bans nuclear weapons in space, but doesn't address conventional weapons or temporary military operations beyond Earth's atmosphere. This loophole has sparked new debates at the United Nations about the future of space warfare. Even the best pilots would need entirely new training for these aircraft. At hypersonic speeds, decisions must be made in milliseconds, too fast for human reaction times. AI assistance and augmented reality systems would have to predict and respond to problems before they happen. The Air Force is already preparing for this future. Specialized bases are being upgraded to support these hybrid airspace vehicles, with reinforced hangars, advanced cooling systems, and specialized fuel storage facilities built to handle the extreme demands of hypersonic flight. While sixth-generation fighters represent the future of modern warfare, these seventh-generation space fighters are something entirely different. The line between science fiction and military reality is disappearing fast. What once seemed impossible is now just a matter of time. As these jets push the limits of technology, the big question is, who or what will be in the pilot's seat? Behind closed doors in high-tech labs across America, engineers have been building the brains of future warplanes long before a single piece of metal is cut. Before these next-generation fighters take shape, their artificial intelligence is already training in virtual battles against the world's best pilots. AI is no longer just a co-pilot, it is being designed to take over entirely. What began as basic autopilot and warning systems soon expanded to flight guidance and real-time threat analysis. Now, cutting-edge AI can autonomously execute complex combat missions, making split-second decisions faster than any human pilot. A breakthrough came with the Pentagon's Project Maven. Launched in 2017, it began by teaching AI to recognize objects in drone footage. Over time, the system evolved to track multiple moving targets, even through clouds, smoke, and electronic interference. The next generation of warplanes will look unlike anything seen before. There will be no cockpits or instrument panels, just advanced processors, cooling systems, and AI-powered decision-making packed inside a sleek, high-speed airframe. These aircraft will be more like flying supercomputers than traditional jets, controlling weapons, sensors, and engines with machine intelligence. The way these planes are built is also changing. In factories across Nevada and California, massive 3D metal printers are already shaping experimental aircraft parts. These machines create complex designs layer by layer, using titanium and carbon fiber, making structures that were previously impossible with older manufacturing methods. This advancement accelerates production at an unprecedented rate. In the past, developing and testing a new design could take several years, involving extensive prototyping, manual adjustments, and countless trial and error phases. Now, with advanced automation and AI-driven simulations, the entire process can be streamlined, reducing development time to just weeks. Engineers can rapidly iterate designs, test performance in virtual environments, and refine prototypes with real-time data, allowing for faster innovation and deployment. Engineers feed designs into simulations where AI runs countless virtual test flights, refining the aircraft before a real one is built. Only the best designs move forward, ensuring each new fighter is an improvement over the last. Military planners see an opportunity in this rapid development cycle. Instead of producing hundreds of identical jets that risk becoming outdated, they can create smaller batches that evolve over time. Each generation learns from the last, making the fleet smarter and more adaptable. Another breakthrough is the concept of smart skin. Instead of mounting separate radar and sensors, the entire surface of these aircraft will be covered in tiny sensors, turning the whole plane into a flying surveillance system. Traditional jets have blind spots, these will have none, detecting threats from all directions and instantly sharing that data with other AI-powered aircraft. This real-time connection gives AI-controlled jets a major edge. Multiple fighters can operate as a single intelligent unit, responding to threats as a team. Smaller, unmanned drone fighters, built at a fraction of the cost, can fly alongside, carrying extra weapons, scouting ahead, or even sacrificing themselves to protect the primary aircraft. But with AI-driven warfare, ethical concerns grow. Military rules state that a human must have meaningful control over combat decisions. Yet at hypersonic speeds, human reaction time simply cannot match AI decision-making measured in microseconds. The Navy has formed an advisory board to address these concerns, ensuring AI follows rules of engagement and minimizes unnecessary harm. However, programming a machine to understand restraint and proportionality remains an unsolved challenge. Technical hurdles also remain. AI-driven aircraft require immense computing power, generating extreme heat. Scientists are exploring quantum computing and advanced cooling systems to keep these machines running efficiently. And while AI has mastered strategy games like chess, aerial combat is far more unpredictable. Training AI pilots in massive simulation environments is key to sharpening their combat skills. The combination of rapid manufacturing and AI autonomy is reshaping aerial warfare. The nation that perfects this technology first will gain an overwhelming advantage, one where warplanes don't just fly, but learn, adapt, and improve with every mission. Even the most advanced fighter jet loses its edge if the enemy spots it from miles away. But what if these new warplanes could completely disappear even from human sight? The most surprising thing about the next generation of fighter jets isn't what they have, it's what they don't. The familiar vertical tails that have defined military aircraft for over a century are gone. Sharp edges and visible engine intakes are missing too. Instead, these jets have a smooth, flowing shape that looks strange to experienced pilots. With soft edges and no clear front or back from certain angles, the design defies traditional aerodynamics and stability rules. It resembles a flying triangle more than a conventional aircraft. This groundbreaking transformation is the result of decades of advancements in stealth technology. The first-generation stealth aircraft, such as the F-117 Nighthawk, relied on angular surfaces to scatter radar signals. The B-2 Spirit bomber improved upon this by incorporating smooth curved contours to further reduce detectability. Today, the most advanced designs push the boundaries even further, striving for near-total invisibility to enemy radar systems. Older planes needed vertical tails for stability, but those tails made them easy radar targets. Engineers replaced them with an advanced flow control system originally tested on the B-2. Instead of stabilizers, hundreds of tiny air jets adjust the aircraft's balance in real time. A computer makes constant corrections, ensuring smooth flight without traditional control surfaces. The aircraft's skin also enhances stealth. Radar-absorbing materials are built directly into the structure, making them more durable than older coatings that wore off. Some sections even contain carbon nanotube layers that absorb radar signals and release the energy as harmless heat. Heat detection is another challenge. Fighter jet engines produce extreme heat, making them easy targets for infrared sensors. New designs cool the exhaust before it leaves the aircraft, then spread the remaining heat over a wider area, reducing their infrared signature. This makes it harder for heat-seeking missiles to lock on. Beyond stealth, these jets are built for adaptability. Older fighters were rigidly designed, meaning upgrading one system often required redesigning the entire aircraft. The new generation features modular components, allowing engineers to swap out weapons, sensors, and avionics quickly without major overhauls. This approach cuts costs and extends the aircraft's lifespan, Instead of waiting years for a completely new model, militaries can upgrade existing jets in weeks. Experts estimate this could reduce costs by 30 to 40% compared to today's most advanced fighters. For radar operators, detecting these aircraft is becoming nearly impossible. Older stealth jets had radar signatures the size of a small bird. Today's fighters appear smaller than a marble. The goal is to become virtually invisible to radar altogether. Even spotting these jets with the naked eye is difficult. Adaptive camouflage panels on their surface can change color to blend with the sky or terrain below. While not true invisibility, this makes them extremely hard to track visually, especially from a distance. Every aspect of these jets is built for real-world combat. Critical areas are reinforced to withstand damage, maintenance access points are easier to reach, and vital systems have built-in backups. These improvements come directly from lessons learned in modern warfare. Stealth technology has always been a cat-and-mouse game. As enemy sensors evolve, stealth aircraft must adapt. With flexible designs and cutting-edge technology, these new jets are built to stay ahead, ensuring dominance in future battles. As America leads in stealth tech, others race to catch up. How did a marketing move spark a trillion-dollar power struggle? The idea of fighter jet generations didn't start with military strategists or aviation pioneers. It was a marketing move by Lockheed Martin. In the early 2000s, the company needed a way to make its new F-35 fighter stand out. The solution they came up with was to call it fifth generation, making everything else seem outdated. The term caught on. Soon, military officials, journalists, and analysts worldwide adopted the classification. Older jets were retroactively sorted into generations. The Korean War-era F-86 Sabre became first generation. The Vietnam-era F-4 Phantom was third generation, and Europe's Eurofighter Typhoon landed in the fourth generation category. What began as a sales tactic reshaped global defense strategy. Countries now felt pressured to keep up. When China unveiled its J-20 in 2011, state media repeatedly emphasized one point. It was China's first fifth-generation fighter. The message was clear. China had joined an exclusive club previously limited to the United States and Russia. India accelerated its fifth-generation program. Japan prioritized acquiring such capabilities. South Korea launched an ambitious effort to build its own next-generation fighter instead of buying from abroad. This marketing-driven shift overlooked an important fact. Before generational labels took hold, countries evaluated fighters by their capabilities, not arbitrary classifications. The French Rafale and Swedish Gripen featured advanced technologies that rivaled early fifth-generation jets. Yet they were dismissed as merely 4.5 generation. The United States officially moved towards sixth-generation fighters in 2014 with DARPA's Air Dominance Initiative, securing nearly $1 billion in early funding. By 2020, the Air Force confirmed that a demonstrator had already flown successfully, pushing rivals to accelerate their programs. China responded by reorganizing its aerospace sector, pouring funds into AI and advanced materials research. Satellite images soon revealed remote test sites where experimental aircraft could fly unobserved. Despite economic struggles, Russia pressed forward with its PAKDP program to replace the aging MiG-31. Officials highlighted its planned ability to operate at extreme altitudes, an apparent counter to United States' interest in space-capable fighters. European nations, unable to match these investments alone, formed cooperative ventures. The UK-led Tempest project partnered with Italy and Sweden, while France, Germany, and Spain joined forces on the Future Combat Air System. Both programs aim to maintain European defense independence rather than rely on American jets. Historically, new fighter generations emerge every 10 to 15 years. Now, the leap from fifth to sixth generation may take 25 to 30 years due to rising costs and complexity. Seventh-generation concepts might not enter service until the 2070s, marking the longest development cycle in fighter history. Meanwhile, the B-52 bomber offers a different approach. First deployed in 1955, it has been continuously upgraded and could serve for a century, proving that evolution sometimes beats revolution. Lockheed Martin, which started this generational race, continues teasing the future. At its Skunk Works 80th anniversary, a mystery aircraft appeared alongside historic designs like the U-2 and SR-71, potentially America's next fighter. With future programs expected to cost hundreds of billions, international collaboration is now essential. What began as a marketing ploy has reshaped global military aviation, making generational labels a defining factor in national security and defense spending. Designed to dominate the seas like never before. How fast can it launch jets? What hidden tech makes it formidable? Join us as we explore the reasons why this United States $13 billion aircraft carrier has shocked the world. The USS Nimitz was formidable in its own sense. It was a powerful and proven aircraft carrier with decades of service. But the U.S. Navy wanted something different. They didn't just want to build another regular aircraft carrier. They wanted to create something that would rule the seas. And they went all out for that. After years of hard work and pouring in $13 billion, the newest American aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, was officially commissioned on July 22, 2017. But the real moment of truth came years later when it finally set sail for its first operational deployment on October 4, 2022. The moment was a big deal. Thousands of sailors, engineers, and military officials followed its first journey closely, and for a good reason. With its advanced systems and futuristic design, the USS Gerald R. Ford is more than a warship. It's a floating showcase of what modern military power looks like. People were also eager to see the result of a $13 billion investment. Designing a brand new type of aircraft carrier means people expect something truly powerful and advanced. That's exactly what the USS Ford delivers. It is a floating masterpiece packed with the latest technology and brilliant engineering. Everything about this ship screams next level, from how it was built to how it performs at sea. What made the USS Ford stand out right away is how it was designed. It wasn't just a ship drawn on paper with old blueprints. It's actually the first ship ever created entirely using three-dimensional modeling. This means every part of the ship, from its massive deck to the tiniest bolt, was carefully crafted in a digital space before anything was physically built. This smart use of technology helped reduce mistakes, save time, and made the ship more efficient to put together. But the USS Ford isn't just impressive because of how it was designed. It's what's inside that really turns heads. Deep within the ship is its own nuclear power plant that produces so much energy that enables the ship to reach speeds of about 30 knots. That's around 35 miles per hour or 56 kilometers per hour, which is extremely fast for a huge ship like this. Thanks to this nuclear power, the USS Ford doesn't have to stop for fuel like most other ships. Instead, it can sail for a long time, anywhere from 20 to 25 years, without ever needing to refuel. That's 2.5 decades of nonstop operation, which means the Navy can rely on it to stay at sea, carry out missions, and remain ready for action without constant pit stops. The power does not just help the ship move, it also powers the ship's advanced systems, weapons, and technology. The USS Ford is built to be fully self-sufficient, which means it can operate on its own for long periods, keeping the crew safe, secure, and ready for anything. Everything from launching aircraft to defending against attacks is handled with precision and speed. To make things even better, this ship was designed with the future in mind. Because it uses the latest digital designs and has so much onboard power, it's much easier to upgrade. As new technologies and weapons are developed, the USS Ford can be updated without having to go back to the drawing board. This makes it a ship that's built not just for today's battles, but for tomorrow's challenges as well. The USS Ford is powered by two powerful A-1B reactor plants. The name A-1B actually stands for something specific. A stands for aircraft carrier, 1 means it's the first generation design of its kind, and B stands for Bechtel, the company that created it. Bechtel is well known in the United States for building and designing nuclear power plants, and they were chosen to design these advanced reactors just for this new class of supercarrier. These A-1B reactors are a big step forward compared to what came before. Older aircraft carriers like those in the Nimitz class use A-4W reactors. While those were powerful for their time, the A-1B takes things to a whole new level. In fact, each A-1B reactor can generate nearly 3 times more power than the older models. That means the USS Ford has a huge boost in energy available to power everything on board. from launching aircraft to advanced radar systems and future weapons. The exact amount of power these new reactors produce is still a secret, as it's considered classified information. However, experts believe the increase in energy output is around 700 megawatts. That's an enormous amount of power, enough to run a small city. This kind of energy gives the USS Ford incredible flexibility and strength. It not only helps move the ship at high speeds, but also supports the most advanced technology the Navy has ever used on a warship. What makes this even more impressive is that this energy increase comes with greater efficiency. The new reactors are designed to need less maintenance and fewer crew members to operate. That means the ship can run longer, with fewer interruptions, and with lower costs over time. The United States Navy had been working on a better way to launch aircraft from aircraft carriers. For many decades, they used steam-powered catapults. These systems used powerful bursts of steam to launch planes into the sky. But while steam catapults were effective, they had some serious drawbacks, like needing a separate steam boiler, causing stress on the ship's structure, and requiring a lot of maintenance. To solve these problems, engineers came up with something new: the Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, or EMALS for short. Instead of using steam, this system uses electromagnets and a linear induction motor to launch planes. It works kind of like a high-tech slingshot, using magnets and electric force to smoothly accelerate a jet down the deck. There are three big reasons why the Navy made the switch from steam to electromagnetic systems. First, EMALS eliminates the need for a bulky and complex steam boiler, which saves space and makes the ship lighter. Second, EMALS gives the crew much more control during a launch. With this technology, operators can adjust the power and acceleration for different types of aircraft, whether it's a fighter jet or a small drone. Third, EMALS reduces the amount of maintenance needed. It uses solid-state electrical parts, which are more durable and reliable, and it causes less wear and tear on both the ship and the equipment during each launch. One of the most important improvements EMALS brings is smoother acceleration. Steam catapults blast planes off the deck with a sudden, forceful jolt. That can damage the aircraft over time and also stress the carrier's structure. EMALS, on the other hand, gives a more even push, allowing the plane to take off in a steadier, safer motion. This lower stress launch means less damage and longer life for expensive planes and drones. Interestingly, while EMALS is clearly a leap forward in technology, there are still debates about whether it's truly more reliable than steam catapults. Steam systems have been used since the time of World War II, replacing even older hydraulic launch systems. They've been tested for decades and are known for working well under pressure. EMALS, although promising, is still relatively new, and there isn't enough data yet to fully compare its performance with the older steam systems. Still, the successful early tests of EMALS show great promise. The picture taken after one of the first working launches shows just how far technology has come. The Navy hopes that with time and more use, EMALS will prove to be not just more advanced, but also safer, easier to maintain, and more reliable than any launch system that came before. The USS Ford brings a bold new look and feel to the design of aircraft carriers, starting with its massive 5-acre flight deck. That's 5 full football fields of space at sea, dedicated to air operations. But it's not just the size that makes it impressive, it's how that space is used. One of the most noticeable changes is the placement of the ship's island, the tall control tower located on the flight deck. On the USS Ford, the island is smaller and has been moved farther toward the back of the ship. This clever redesign opens up more space on the deck, especially in the central and forward areas. With this extra room, more planes can be parked, moved, and maintained, improving flight operations and reducing wait times between takeoffs and landings. Another major upgrade is the way weapons are moved around the ship. Just like the new electromagnetic aircraft launch system, the weapons elevators on the USS Ford now use electromagnetic fields instead of cables and pulleys. These elevators lift weapons from storage areas deep inside the ship up to the flight deck. Instead of swinging open like doors in older carriers, the new ones have smooth, horizontal sliding doors. This design not only saves space, but also reduces the number of crew members needed to operate them and lowers maintenance demands. Over time, that means less wear, fewer repairs, and more money saved. What makes the USS Ford even more impressive is how flexible its design is. The ship's internal structure can be easily changed by reconfiguring different compartments. That means the ship can quickly adjust to different types of missions without requiring major redesigns. For example, if a future mission requires more space for drones or new aircraft types, the ship can be adapted with minimal effort. This saves both time and money and avoids the kind of expensive overhauls that often slow down the older Nimitz-class carriers. The ship also includes new advanced arresting gear. This is the system that stops aircraft when they land on the deck. The arresting gear on the USS Ford is lighter than the old system and is controlled by advanced software. It's easier to maintain and doesn't need as many people to operate. This makes landings safer, more efficient, and less stressful for both planes and crews. On top of all that, the USS Ford is fitted with multi-function radar and volume search radar. This high-tech radar setup combines two different radar systems working together. One is for scanning the skies and tracking incoming aircraft or missiles, while the other handles target illumination and missile guidance. By combining these systems, the ship can detect threats faster and respond more effectively, keeping both the ship and its aircraft safe during complex missions. All these upgrades work together to make the USS Ford a smarter, faster, and more efficient ship. It's not just about power, it's about using space, energy, and technology in the best possible way. From its flexible compartments to its cutting-edge arresting gear and radar systems, every part of the flight deck redesign shows just how much naval engineering has evolved. This new generation of aircraft carriers is built for the future, and the USS Ford is leading the way. The USS Ford is a true 21st century marvel of design and engineering. Unlike older aircraft carriers that were simply improved over time, the USS Ford gave engineers the rare opportunity to start fresh and rethink everything. This freedom allowed them to add exciting new features while removing older, less efficient systems. The result is a ship that's smarter, faster, and easier to maintain. One of the biggest changes is the removal of the traditional steam catapult system, along with all the extra steam-powered machinery that came with it. This alone helps simplify the ship's design and reduce energy waste. But that's just the beginning. Engineers also optimized many components throughout the carrier. They were able to eliminate around half of the valves used in older designs, remove 70 sea chests, hollow spaces in the hull that manage water intake, and cut out one aircraft elevator and one entire hangar bay without affecting performance. Another big improvement is the dry docking interval. The USS Ford only needs to go into dry dock once every 12 years, which means more time at sea and fewer interruptions for maintenance. Even everyday comfort and cleanliness have been improved. The ship's air conditioning system now blasts an incredible total of 9,900 tons of cooling power through the ship. This helps reduce dust, moisture, and dirt in every area, improving both the equipment's lifespan and the crew's comfort. Steam heating has also been replaced. Instead of bulky steam pipes running across the ship like in older carriers, the USS Ford uses electric water heaters. This change not only saves space, but also makes repairs and maintenance much simpler. Lighting also got an upgrade. All the ship's battle lanterns now use LED bulbs, which last longer and make each battery last much more efficiently. In addition, the ship uses 44,000 T8 fluorescent bulbs, which last twice as long as the older bulbs used on Nimitz-class carriers. Cargo transport inside the ship was redesigned too. Instead of using old conveyor systems, the USS Ford now has cargo elevators. These elevators allow sailors to move heavy pallets of materials directly to where they are needed, cutting out the extra steps of unloading and shifting items around. This makes supply runs smoother and saves valuable time during busy operations. Building the USS Ford was no small task. The materials used are staggering. It took more than 4 million pounds of weld metal, 4 million feet of fiber optic cable, and 200,000 gallons of gray paint to bring this supercarrier to life. Inside, the ship is built to support its crew in every way. Every single day, it produces 400,000 gallons of fresh water and serves up 15,000 meals. From its systems and structure to the food on the tables, everything about the USS Ford has been carefully designed for maximum efficiency durability, and performance. It's not just a warship, it's a floating city built for the future. The USS Ford is more than just a floating runway for warplanes. It's a powerful fortress at sea, packed with cutting-edge weapons designed to defend against modern threats. Along with carrying over 75 aircraft, the USS Ford is loaded with some of the most advanced defensive and offensive systems ever built into a warship. Engineers and designers carefully selected and integrated three major weapon systems: the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile, the Rolling Airframe missile, and the Mark 15 Phalanx close-in weapon system. Each plays a vital role in keeping the ship safe during combat. There is also the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile. These missiles are built to take down enemy threats with speed and precision. The ESSM is specially designed to target fast-moving objects like enemy aircraft and incoming missiles. What makes it even more impressive is that 4 of these missiles can fit into one cell of the Mark 41 vertical launch system, a launcher built into the deck of the ship. These missiles can lock onto and destroy complex targets such as supersonic, maneuvering anti-ship missiles before they get close to the carrier. It's a powerful first layer of defense, helping to keep both the ship and its crew safe from long-range attacks. But what happens when threats slip past that first line of defense and come in fast? That's where the next missile system steps in. The RAM, or Rolling Airframe missile, is a smaller, surface-to-air missile. But don't let its size fool you. It gets its name from the way it spins around its own axis, just like a bullet fired from a rifled gun barrel. This spiral movement helps it stay stable and on target while flying at extremely high speeds. The RAM travels at nearly twice the speed of sound, Mach 2, and has a range of about 5.5 miles. It carries a warhead that weighs 25 pounds, designed to explode near the target and cause serious damage. Each missile costs about $1 million to build, and it's worth every cent when it comes to protecting the ship from high-speed threats. Then there is the Mk-15 Phalanx close-in weapon system. When all else fails, the USS Ford has one final line of defense: the Phalanx. This fully automated system features a radar-guided 20mm Vulcan cannon. It's designed to shoot down missiles and aircraft that have made it past the outer defense layers. This cannon fires armor-piercing tungsten rounds at an incredible rate of 4,500 bullets per minute. The rounds are meant to shred through the airframe of an incoming missile, making it tumble out of control. This not only destroys the threat, but also reduces the risk of a large explosion near the ship, keeping the crew and the vessel safer from collateral damage. For all these reasons, the USS Gerald R. Ford undeniably stands out as the most advanced and largest aircraft carrier in the world. Unlike older carriers like the USS Nimitz, the use of electromagnetic catapults instead of steam, need for fewer crew members due to more automation, and its nuclear power, which allows it to operate for over 20 years without refueling, has made it truly impressive. While other nations like China's Fujian and Britain's HMS Queen Elizabeth are impressive, the Ford leads in tech, speed, and overall strike capability. The United States has deployed its most powerful naval asset to the frozen waters surrounding Greenland. The USS Gerald R. Ford, a $13 billion technological marvel and the world's most advanced aircraft carrier, has arrived in Greenlandic waters amid President Donald Trump's aggressive campaign to acquire the massive Arctic island. This deployment has sent shockwaves through Moscow, where Russian officials are watching with alarm as American military power projects deep into what they consider their strategic backyard. What does this deployment mean for Russia's Arctic dominance? And how is Moscow responding to this unprecedented show of American naval power in the high north? Join us as we explore how the arrival of the U.S. $100 billion aircraft carrier program in Greenland has left Russia shocked and scrambling to respond. President Donald Trump's renewed fixation on acquiring the world's largest island has evolved from what many dismissed as rhetorical bombast into active policy planning. The White House has explicitly stated that acquiring Greenland is a national security priority and that utilizing the U.S. military remains an option on the table. This represents a stunning escalation from Trump's first-term musings about purchasing the territory, which Danish officials politely but firmly rejected. Following the success of Operation Absolute Resolve in Venezuela, where American forces captured President Nicolas Maduro in a lightning military operation, Trump's territorial ambitions have taken on new credibility and urgency. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been tasked with crafting a proposal to purchase Greenland, with cost estimates ranging from $500 billion to $700 billion. Trump has also made it clear that he prefers to make a deal the easy way, but has repeatedly emphasized that if negotiations fail, he will pursue the hard way. The implications of this statement, combined with the White House's explicit refusal to rule out military force, have European NATO allies deeply concerned that rhetoric is transforming into policy. Denmark and Greenland have unequivocally stated the island is not for sale, with Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen warning that any American military attack on Greenland would effectively end NATO. Despite this opposition, Trump doubled down, declaring that the United States will do something on Greenland whether they like it or not. Because if America doesn't act, Russia or China will take over Greenland instead. This is where the USS Gerald R. Ford enters the picture. The deployment of America's flagship carrier to Greenlandic waters sends an unmistakable message about Washington's seriousness and its willingness to project military power into the Arctic. The USS Gerald R. Ford is quite simply the most powerful warship ever constructed. At over 100,000 tons fully loaded, this nuclear-powered supercarrier stretches 1,092 feet from bow to stern, longer than 3 football fields placed end-to-end. The flight deck alone covers 4.5 acres, providing operational space equivalent to a small airport. 2 Bechtel A-1B nuclear reactors generate 280 megawatts of power, enough electricity to power a city of 100,000 people. These reactors allow the Ford to operate continuously for over 20 years without refueling, providing unlimited strategic range limited only by the crew's endurance and the ship's food supplies. What truly distinguishes the Ford from its predecessors is revolutionary technology that fundamentally changes how carriers operate. The Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, or EMALS, replaces the steam catapults that have launched carrier aircraft for 7 decades. Using powerful electromagnets and linear induction motors, EMALS accelerates aircraft more smoothly and efficiently than steam catapults, reducing stress on airframes while expanding the weight range of aircraft that can be launched. This system can launch everything from lightweight drones to heavy strike fighters with equal efficiency, providing unprecedented flexibility. The Ford can sustain 160 sorties per day for 30 consecutive days, with surge capability reaching 270 sorties per day during high-intensity operations. The carrier's air wing typically includes up to 90 aircraft, though the exact composition varies by mission. F/A-18E and F Super Hornets provide the primary strike capability, able to deliver precision-guided weapons against targets hundreds of miles away. F-35C, Lightning II stealth fighters bring 5th-generation capabilities to the carrier deck, penetrating sophisticated air defenses and gathering intelligence with their advanced sensors. EA-18G Growlers jam enemy radars and communications, creating corridors through air defense networks. E-2D Advanced Hawkeye aircraft provide airborne early warning and battle management, coordinating the actions of dozens of aircraft across hundreds of miles. MH-60R and MH-60S Seahawk helicopters conduct anti-submarine warfare, search and rescue, and logistics support. This combination creates an integrated air combat system with capabilities exceeding most national air forces. The Ford's defensive systems ensure the carrier can protect itself and its strike group from threats ranging from aircraft to missiles to submarines. The dual-band radar system combines X-band and S-band arrays to simultaneously search for targets at long range while tracking incoming threats with precision. RIM-162, evolved Sea Sparrow missiles engage aircraft and anti-ship missiles at medium ranges, while RIM-116 rolling airframe missiles provide last-ditch point defense. The Phalanx close-in weapon system uses radar-guided 20mm cannons capable of firing 4,500 rounds per minute to destroy incoming missiles that penetrate other defenses. Advanced electronic warfare systems can jam enemy radars, deceive incoming missiles, and protect the carrier from electromagnetic attack. Perhaps most importantly, the Ford operates as the centerpiece of a carrier strike group that multiplies its capabilities exponentially. Ticonderoga-class cruisers equipped with the Aegis combat system provide area air defense. using their powerful SPY-1 radars and standard missiles to engage aircraft and ballistic missiles at ranges exceeding 100 miles. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers add additional layers of defense while carrying Tomahawk cruise missiles for long-range strike. Attack submarines, typically Virginia-class or Los Angeles-class boats, screen ahead of the strike group, hunting enemy submarines and gathering intelligence. Supply ships provide fuel, food, ammunition, and spare parts, allowing the strike group to operate far from friendly ports for months at a time. When these elements work together under unified command, they create a mobile, self-sustaining military force capable of projecting American power anywhere on Earth's oceans. The arrival of the USS Gerald R. Ford in Greenlandic waters marks an unprecedented deployment for several reasons. Aircraft carriers rarely venture into Arctic regions due to extreme weather conditions, ice hazards, and the challenges of operating in an environment where water temperatures can kill an unprotected person in minutes. The Ford's presence demonstrates American willingness to operate in these austere conditions and establishes a capability that few nations can match. The carrier provides a floating airbase that eliminates the need for permission from foreign governments to establish facilities on their territory. This is particularly relevant given Danish opposition to the American acquisition of Greenland. With the Ford on station, American aircraft can patrol Greenlandic airspace, monitor Russian and Chinese activities, and respond to emerging threats without requiring any cooperation from Denmark. The strategic implications of this deployment extend far beyond Greenland itself. The Arctic region has become increasingly contested as climate change opens new shipping routes and makes previously inaccessible resources exploitable. Russia has invested heavily in Arctic capabilities, constructing military bases across its northern coastline, deploying advanced air defense systems, and building nuclear-powered icebreakers to maintain year-round access to Arctic waters. President Vladimir Putin has made clear that Russia views the Arctic as strategically vital, warning at the International Arctic Forum in Murmansk that Russia will closely follow developments and mount appropriate responses to any perceived threats. China, despite having no Arctic territory, has declared itself a near-Arctic state and invested in ice-capable ships, Arctic research stations, and joint projects with Russia to develop northern sea route shipping lanes. The Ford's deployment directly challenges Russian and Chinese Arctic ambitions by demonstrating that the United States possesses both the capability and willingness to project overwhelming military power into the region. Russian military planners have long viewed the Arctic as a strategic sanctuary where their ballistic missile submarines can operate protected by ice and distance from American forces. The presence of an American carrier strike group in these waters fundamentally undermines this assumption, placing Russian bases, ports, and submarine bastions under potential threat. The Ford's aircraft can reach deep into Russian territory, striking military installations along the Kola Peninsula and in the Russian Far East. This capability forces Russia to dedicate air defense assets to protecting Arctic facilities that were previously considered relatively secure. Russian officials have responded to the Ford's deployment with a mixture of alarm and defiance. The state-controlled media outlet Pravda published extensive commentary from military analysts describing Greenland as a potential unsinkable American aircraft carrier in the Arctic, from which the United States could conduct geopolitical confrontation with both Russia and China. Igor Korochenko, editor-in-chief of National Defense magazine, warned that American control of Greenland would give Washington unprecedented ability to threaten Russian interests in the Arctic region. Other Russian commentators have accused the United States of using fabricated claims about Russian and Chinese ships near Greenland as pretext for territorial aggression, noting that NATO intelligence sources have confirmed no significant Russian or Chinese naval presence in Greenlandic waters, despite Trump's assertions. Moscow has already begun taking concrete steps to counter the American move. Russian military forces in the Arctic have been placed on heightened alert, with additional air patrols along the northern coastline and increased submarine activity in the Barents Sea and Norwegian Sea. Russia has accelerated deployment of S-400 and S-500 air defense systems to Arctic bases, systems specifically designed to engage stealth aircraft and cruise missiles at extreme ranges. The Russian Navy has deployed additional surface combatants to the Northern Fleet, including modern frigates equipped with Caliber cruise missiles capable of striking targets over 1,000 miles away. Perhaps most concerning, Russia has conducted exercises simulating attacks on NATO naval forces in the North Atlantic, including scenarios involving aircraft carriers. China has also watched the Greenland situation with intense interest, viewing it through the lens of American attempts to contain Chinese global ambitions. Beijing has invested substantially in Arctic shipping routes as part of its Polar Silk Road initiative, seeing the Northern Sea route as an alternative to traditional shipping lanes through the South China Sea and Suez Canal. American control of Greenland could potentially threaten these shipping routes or allow Washington to interdict Chinese vessels transiting Arctic waters. Chinese foreign ministry officials have criticized Trump's use of alleged Chinese Arctic activities as justification for the acquisition of Greenland, pointing out that China respects the territorial integrity and sovereignty of all nations, including Denmark's sovereignty over Greenland. The technological capabilities the fort brings to bear in Arctic operations deserve closer examination. Operating an aircraft carrier in Arctic conditions presents challenges that strain even the most advanced naval systems. Extreme cold affects everything from aircraft performance to crew endurance to the functioning of electronic systems. Ice formation on the flight deck can make aircraft operations hazardous or impossible. Limited visibility during Arctic winters, where darkness persists for months, complicates navigation and aircraft recovery. The fort addresses these challenges through advanced systems and careful operational planning. The nuclear propulsion system eliminates concerns about fuel supplies in a region where refueling at sea becomes exponentially more dangerous in rough Arctic waters. The ship's heating systems maintain habitable temperatures throughout the vessel despite external temperatures that can reach -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Advanced weather prediction systems and ice detection radars allow the ship to navigate safely through conditions that would be impassable for conventionally powered vessels. The air wing adapts its operations to Arctic conditions through specialized training and equipment. Pilots practice operations in cold weather environments where engine performance decreases and ice accumulation on airframes creates additional weight and changes aerodynamic characteristics. Maintainers work in heated hangars below deck, bringing aircraft up to the flight deck only when ready for launch. Special cold weather lubricants and fluids ensure systems continue functioning despite temperatures that would freeze conventional materials. Aircraft are equipped with additional survival gear for crew members, recognizing that ejection over Arctic waters or ice means almost certain death without immediate rescue. The carrier maintains helicopters on constant standby for search and rescue, with crews specially trained in Arctic survival and recovery operations. The presence of the fort also enables intelligence collection operations that were previously difficult or impossible to conduct. The carrier's aircraft can fly reconnaissance missions over vast expanses of Arctic territory, using advanced sensors to map Russian and Chinese military installations, monitor vessel movements through Arctic shipping lanes, and track submarine activity in areas where ice cover complicates detection. This intelligence provides American planners with unprecedented insight into adversary capabilities and intentions in the Arctic. The E-2D Hawkeye aircraft, in particular, carries powerful radars capable of detecting and tracking surface ships, aircraft, and even periscopes at ranges exceeding 300 miles. When multiple Hawkeyes operate in a coordinated pattern, they create a surveillance net covering hundreds of thousands of square miles of ocean and airspace. The economic dimensions of the fort's deployment also merit attention. Operating a carrier strike group costs approximately $6.5 million per day, a staggering sum that reflects the enormous resources required to sustain such a force. Fuel for the escort vessels alone runs into thousands of gallons per day, despite the carrier itself requiring no fuel for propulsion. Food for nearly 10,000 personnel across the strike group must be constantly replenished. Spare parts, ammunition, and other consumables flow from supply ships to the combatants in an endless logistical ballet. Aircraft require constant maintenance, with each flight hour generating multiple maintenance man-hours to keep the planes airworthy. This massive expenditure underscores the seriousness with which the United States views the Greenland situation and its broader Arctic strategy. The deployment raises profound questions about the future of NATO and transatlantic relations. Denmark is a founding member of NATO, the military alliance that has anchored European security since 1949. Article 5 of the NATO Treaty states that an attack on one member is an attack on all, obligating all alliance members to defend each other against aggression. The prospect of the United States using military force against Greenland, a territory of NATO member Denmark, creates an unprecedented crisis within the alliance. Would other NATO members be obligated to defend Denmark against the United States? Would such a scenario effectively destroy NATO from within? These questions have no clear answers, as the alliance's founding documents never envisioned a scenario where one member might threaten another. European NATO members have begun quietly consulting among themselves about potential responses to American actions in Greenland. Some analysts speculate that an American seizure of Greenland could lead to the creation of what some call Euro-NATO, a European defense alliance operating without American participation. Such an alliance would likely center on the nuclear capabilities of France and the United Kingdom, with Germany potentially developing its own nuclear deterrent to replace the American nuclear umbrella. However, this scenario remains speculative, as European nations lack the military capabilities to confront the United States directly and remain economically dependent on access to American markets. The more likely European response would involve diplomatic protests, economic sanctions targeting American goods, and a fundamental reassessment of transatlantic security relationships. Also, Russia's shock at the Ford's deployment stems not just from the immediate military implications, but from recognition that American Arctic strategy has fundamentally shifted. For decades, the Arctic remained relatively stable, with limited military activities and broad agreement that the region should remain peaceful. Climate change has upended this stability by making the Arctic increasingly accessible and economically valuable. Russia has moved aggressively to claim Arctic resources and shipping routes, viewing the region as critical to its economic future and national security. The United States largely ceded Arctic leadership for decades, maintaining only modest capabilities in the region. The Ford's deployment signals that this period has ended, and America intends to compete aggressively for Arctic dominance. Russian military analysts recognize that competing with American carrier strike groups in the Arctic presents challenges Russia cannot easily overcome. The Russian Navy has focused on submarines, coastal defense, and anti-access/area denial strategies rather than blue water power projection. Russia lacks operational aircraft carriers and would struggle to effectively challenge the Ford in open water combat. Russian strategy has instead emphasized land-based aircraft, submarines, and long-range missiles to deny American carriers access to areas near Russian territory. The Ford's presence in Greenlandic waters complicates this strategy by placing American naval power in a region Russia considered relatively secure, forcing adjustments to defensive plans and diverting resources from other priorities. As the situation continues to evolve, several potential scenarios emerge. In the most optimistic case, the carrier's presence facilitates negotiations that result in an agreement expanding American military access to Greenland while respecting Danish sovereignty and Greenlandic self-determination. Such an arrangement might resemble the Compact of Free Association that governs relationships between the United States and several Pacific Island nations, where America provides defense and economic assistance in exchange for military access and political influence. However, Trump's rhetoric suggests he seeks full ownership rather than such halfway measures, making this scenario unlikely without significant pressure from Congress or international institutions. A more concerning scenario involves escalating tensions leading to actual military conflict. If Trump attempts to seize Greenland by force, Denmark would face an impossible choice between accepting American aggression or attempting military resistance that would certainly fail but might preserve national honor. European NATO members would face similar dilemmas about whether treaty obligations require defending Denmark against the United States. Such a crisis could shatter NATO, undermine European security, and create opportunities for Russia and China to advance their interests while the West tears itself apart. The Ford's presence makes this scenario more likely by demonstrating American capability and resolve, while intimidating potential opposition into accepting American demands. The most likely outcome may involve prolonged ambiguity, where American military presence in Greenland gradually expands without formal annexation. The United States already maintains Patuxent Space Base in Greenland, providing a foothold that could be expanded through infrastructure investments, additional personnel deployments, and growing economic ties. The Ford's deployment establishes American ability to dominate Greenlandic waters, while sustained pressure on Denmark and Greenland might eventually wear down opposition to expanded American presence. Over time, American de facto control might become so extensive that formal sovereignty becomes almost irrelevant, achieving Trump's objectives without requiring the dramatic confrontation that full annexation would provoke. Japan's military history dramatically turned in the early 1900s when they revolutionized naval warfare by creating the first aircraft carrier. But everything changed when they stepped back from military power and chose peace instead. That peace lasted for many years. But now things are different. With China becoming more aggressive, Japan has strengthened its navy again. Thanks to its strong $4.9 trillion economy, they have built new high-tech aircraft carriers equipped with cutting-edge fighter jets. The message to China is clear: Japan will stand up for itself. But how do they match up against China's expanding navy? And what does this mean for the future of the Pacific? Join us as we examine Japan's new aircraft carriers and their hidden message to rival countries. Back in 1922, Japan changed how naval battles would be fought forever. They built the Hosho, the world's first real aircraft carrier. But it was not just for show, it was their testing ground. Japanese engineers used it to figure out everything about carrier operations: how planes should take off, how they should land, and how the whole ship and aircraft system could work together smoothly. The Hosho proved that aircraft carriers were the key to controlling the seas. Japan went all in, building carrier after carrier: the Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, Shokaku, Sukaku, Taiho, and Unryu. Each new ship was bigger and better than the last, showing just how powerful Japan's navy had become. But it wouldn't last. The Unryu, their final carrier, sank in 1944 during World War II, and just a year later, atomic bombs hit Japan, changing everything. After the atomic bombs hit Hiroshima and Nagasaki, World War II, history's deadliest conflict, came to an end. Japan made a huge change. It would be a peaceful nation. No offensive weapons were allowed. That meant no long-range missiles, no nukes, and no aircraft carriers. They could only have weapons to defend themselves. Despite this, Japan found a clever workaround. They built 2 helicopter carriers that were as big as regular aircraft carriers, bigger than Italy's. For years, people wondered if these were just aircraft carriers in disguise. Now there is no more guessing. With China becoming more aggressive, Japan has officially turned these ships into proper aircraft carriers. They are called the Izumo class and are Japan's first aircraft carriers in over 70 years. The ships Izumo and Kaga joined Japan's navy in 2015 and 2017. Each weighs 27,000 tons and can carry 28 helicopters. But what makes them special is their design. These ships were built to be easily converted into full aircraft carriers. They already have most of what they need. The rest can be added quickly when required. So while Japan calls them helicopter carriers, they are aircraft carriers in waiting. Let's explain what the debate is all about. To get the full picture, we need a clear picture of what a helicopter carrier is and why it matters so much to any country with one. A helicopter carrier is a special type of aircraft carrier that is built mainly for helicopters. It has a big flat deck for aircraft to land and take off. This deck can run the whole length of the ship, like on the Royal Navy's Ocean, or it might only cover part of the ship, usually the back end, like on the Soviet Navy's Moskva class or the Chinese Navy's Type 0811A. Most helicopter carriers also have an indoor hangar deck below where they can store and fix their helicopters. These days, it is tricky to say what counts as a pure helicopter carrier. Things got more complicated when planes like the Harrier and F-35 came along. These can take off and land vertically. Take the United States Navy's Wasp-class ships. They carry 6 to 8 Harriers plus more than 20 helicopters. So really, only the smaller ships that can't handle these special planes, or older ships from before the Harrier existed, are truly helicopter carriers. Many modern ships that can work with these vertical takeoff planes are called light aircraft carriers instead. Some ships, like the Wasp class, can also move troops like Marines and get them to shore, which is why they're called landing helicopter docks. On the other hand, a full-blown aircraft carrier is a warship that acts as a floating airport, with a long flat deck and storage areas below for aircraft. It lets naval forces use aircraft thousands of miles from home without needing land-based airports. Aircraft carriers have come a long way since they first appeared as wooden ships carrying single observation balloons in the 1900s. They are massive nuclear-powered vessels that can carry anywhere from 40 to 60 different aircraft, from fighter jets and attack planes to helicopters and early warning aircraft. Now back to Japan. The Kaga is a powerful ship in Japan's Navy. Japan officially calls it a multi-purpose operation destroyer. It is the second ship of its kind, following its sister ship, the Izumo. The Kaga is from an old Japanese province, now part of Ishikawa Prefecture. Construction began in October 2013 at Japan Marine United's Yokohama shipyard. The ship was launched in August 2015 and entered service in March 2017. The Kaga's flight deck is built for action, with 5 spots where helicopters can land or take off at the same time. This makes it similar to American ships, such as the Wasp and America class. Experts noticed something interesting about Japan's new helicopter destroyers in 2010. It looked like they were designed to handle more than just helicopters. People started speculating that the ships could launch fighter jets like the V-22 Osprey and the F-35 Lightning II. And guess what? They were right. Japan announced plans to upgrade the Kaga and Izumo to carry the F-35B, a special version that can take off and land vertically. They started fixing them up in 2022, and it would take about 5 years to get each one ready. The planned changes to Kaga will be more expensive and extensive than the work done on its sister ship. The modifications include reshaping the front of the vessel. The initial phase of construction finished in the early 2024. In 2019, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe approved a defense budget of 26.2 trillion yen, or $238.72 billion to be distributed over 5 years. This money would cover upgrading Izumo and Kaga and buying 147 F-35A and F-35B stealth fighters. The Mainichi Shimbun newspaper reported that Japan's Air Self-Defense Force plans to get 42 F-35B aircraft. They will bring in 18 by 2023, 6 in 2024, and 2 in 2025, and the first group will form one squadron of about 20 planes. Defense Minister Nobuo Kishi picked Nutabaru Air Base in Miyazaki Prefecture, Kyushu, to host these F-35Bs. The base sits close to the Southwest Islands, including Okinawa, and near the Kure Base in Hiroshima Prefecture, where Kaga is stationed. The Kaga stretches 814 feet, or 248 meters, and weighs 27,000 tons. That makes her the biggest ship in Japan's maritime self-defense force. She is a light carrier similar to Italy's Cavour and about the same size as many countries' amphibious ships, but she is much smaller than supercarriers. Take the USS George H.W. Bush, which is 1,092 feet, or 333 meters, long and weighs over 100,000 tons and protects itself with 2 phalanx and 2 CRAM close-in weapon systems. In 2018, Kaga sailed through the South China Sea and Indian Ocean as part of the Indo-Southeast Asia deployment exercise. The trip showed Japan's presence in these key waters, with stops in the Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, India, and Sri Lanka. Donald Trump visited Japan, and during his visit, he visited Kaga in Yokosuka. While there, he gave a speech saying that many United States allies were not spending enough on their militaries while taking advantage of America's big defense budget. He praised Japan for buying American equipment and wished them well as they entered the Reiwa era. Let us look at Kaga's sister ship, Izumo. Work started on the first Izumo-class ship in 2011 at IHI Marine United's Yokohama yard. The fiscal 2010 budget set aside 113.9 billion yen, about 1.5 billion United States dollars, for this project. These ships were meant to take over from the Shirane-class destroyers, which were set to retire in 2014. The ship can accommodate up to 28 aircraft, though this drops to 14 when carrying larger aircraft. For now, they plan to equip it with 7 anti-submarine warfare helicopters and 2 search and rescue helicopters. The ship can also transport 400 troops and 53.5-ton trucks or similar equipment. The flight deck features 5 spots where helicopters can land and take off simultaneously. In 2010, defense analysts at Forecast International noticed something peculiar about the Izumo-class helicopter destroyers. Certain design features hinted that these ships might be capable of handling more than just helicopters. Despite this speculation, the Ministry of Defense and the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force remained tight-lipped, never acknowledging the possibility of deploying fixed-wing aircraft on these vessels. Adding to the mystery, the Izumo class lacks the typical features of launching conventional fighter jets, such as a ski jump ramp or a catapult system. This suggests that if these ships were indeed to operate fixed-wing aircraft, they would be limited to short takeoff, vertical landing aircraft. Japan bought the Lightning II fighter jet's regular takeoff and landing version, and they have also considered getting the F-35B model, which can take off in short distances and land vertically. This version could work on a modified Izumo-class ship. In December 2018, Japan announced plans to update their defense rules and buy 42 F-35B fighters to use on Izumo. The Izumo-class ship serves as a multi-purpose operation destroyer. When empty, it weighs 19,950 metric tons, or 19,630 long tons. When carrying a full load, the ship's weight increases to 26,000 metric tons, which equals 26,000 long tons. The Izumo measures 248 meters long, or 813 feet and 8 inches. Its beam spans 38 meters, which is 124 feet and 8 inches across. The ship stands 23.5 meters tall, equal to 77 feet and 1 inch. It has a draft of 7.5 meters, or 24 feet and 7 inches. It uses a COGAG system with 2 shafts and 4 GE/IHILM 2500 IEC gas turbines for power. The ship can move faster than 30 knots, about 35 miles or 56 kilometers per hour. The ship can hold 970 people, including crew and troops. It uses the OYQ-12 combat direction system and the FCS-3 fire control system for tracking and combat. It's equipped with an OPS-50 ASA radar, OPS-28 surface search radar, and an OQQ-23 boost sonar for underwater detection. The ship has several electronic warfare systems to defend against threats. These include the NOLQ-3D1 electronic warfare suite, Mark 36 SRBOC countermeasures, anti-torpedo mobile decoys, and floating acoustic jammers that can confuse enemy sensors. For weapons, the ship carries 2 Phalanx close-in weapon systems and 2 CRAM close-in weapon systems. In terms of aircraft, it typically operates with 7 anti-submarine warfare helicopters and 2 search and rescue helicopters. At most, the ship can handle 28 jets in total. After joining the fleet at Yokosuka Port in Japan in March 2015, Izumo quickly got to work. By August of that same year, it teamed up with the Coast Guard ship Izu for a major emergency drill in Tokyo. During this practice run, both ships served as medical centers where they could receive and sort injured people. A big moment for Japan's military was in May 2017, when the massive Izumo headed out on a mission that would make headlines, protecting an American supply ship near Japanese waters. This was not just any routine patrol. The United States vessel, Richard E. Byrd, was part of a bigger operation keeping tabs on North Korean missiles. What made this so special? It was the first time Japan had ever guarded a United States ship since they changed their military laws in 2016. However, this did not sit well with everyone back home. When the Izumo left port in Yokosuka, protesters showed up. They were worried that this kind of mission, especially using such a big warship, went against Japan's long-standing policy of having a military only for defense. This was more than just ships moving around in the ocean. Japan took a bigger step onto the world stage, showing they were ready to work more closely with their American allies. This was significant for a country that had stayed away from this kind of military teamwork for so long. In September 2021, Izumo trained with the British aircraft carrier Queen Elizabeth and other ships in the Pacific. By early October that year, Izumo hit another milestone when the United States Marine Corps F-35B fighters landed on its deck for the first time. Later, on May 31, 2022, Japan's Navy announced that Izumo would join RIMPAC 2022 along with two other Japanese ships, the destroyer Takanami and destroyer Kirasami. As of January 2025, about 50 aircraft carriers actively serve in 15 different navies worldwide. The United States operates 11 large nuclear-powered fleet carriers that use catapults to launch their planes. Each carries about 80 fighter jets, and their combined deck space is more than double that of all other nations. China, Britain, and India each run 2 aircraft carriers with sloped decks for takeoff. China is also building a third carrier that will use catapults like the American ones. France and Russia have one carrier that can handle between 30 and 60 fighter jets. Italy has 2 smaller carriers that work with vertical takeoff planes, while Spain and Turkey each have one ship that can carry both aircraft and troops. What makes aircraft carriers so special? Speed and size are the 2 big things that matter most for these massive warships. Think about it like this. An aircraft carrier needs to move fast. We are talking about speeds over 35 miles per hour. That is pretty impressive for something as big as a floating city. This speed does 2 important things. It lets the ship get where it needs to go quickly and helps planes take off better. See, when the vessel moves fast, it creates more wind over the deck, which gives planes an extra boost when taking off. This is a big deal for ships like Japan's Kaga and Izumo. The faster they can go, the easier for those jets to take off from their decks. Speaking of decks, that brings us to size. Aircraft carriers are huge, and they need to be. Look at ships like the American Ronald Reagan or France's Charles de Gaulle. All that space is needed for planes to take off, land, and park. The Japanese ships Kaga and Izumo are particularly interesting because they show how carriers can change over time. They started out carrying just helicopters, but now they are being upgraded to handle fighter jets, which sends a clear message to China and the rest of the world. Why is this such a huge deal for China? First and foremost, Japan protecting United States ships in China's backyard sent a crystal-clear signal. China sees itself as the major power in Asia, and they are particularly sensitive about aircraft carriers. So naturally, when Japan started using the Izumo this way, it was like waving a red flag in front of them. Moreover, China had always used Japan's wartime past to criticize any military moves Japan made. As a result, they were especially unhappy seeing Japan's biggest warship working alongside American forces. From China's perspective, Japan was steadily breaking away from its peaceful, defense-only policy. Perhaps even more concerning for China was what this newfound teamwork represented. After all, Japan and America working together this closely made China increasingly nervous. Additionally, it demonstrated that Japan was prepared to take on a stronger military role in the region, which could directly challenge China's growing influence. Simply put, China was already dealing with American ships in the region. On top of that, they had to worry about Japanese ships protecting American ships too. Understandably, this created twice the concern for their military planners. In the end, this situation pushed China to dramatically speed up its naval buildup, especially its aircraft carrier program. They looked at what was happening and concluded they needed to match this show of force. That's precisely why China has 3 carriers, even more currently in the planning stages. Here is where things stand now. The Pacific has become a high-stakes chess game. But this is not just about warships. It is about a changing Asia, where old rivals are picking sides and building alliances. Japan, once committed to staying out of military matters, now stands shoulder to shoulder with America. And China, watching all of this unfold, pushes harder to become the region's top power. What started with Japan's clever workaround of calling aircraft carriers helicopter carriers has turned into something much bigger. It has shaped how countries built their navies, chose their allies, and showed their strength in the Pacific. As these nations eye each other across the waves, one thing's clear. The balance of power in Asia is not just shifting, it has already changed. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.